The Sonic Show's Opinion Zone. Act 5. Published material and comments are those of the respective persons and not of the Sonic Show. Hello everybody, welcome to a new Opinion Zone. We are going to be talking about today the recent fan games and fan engines and fan everything that has come out of the latest Sage Expo, which is slightly redundant, but hey, that's the easiest way to say it. We have with us today a special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Lewis Clark, aka Sonic Yoda from SegaDriven.com.
Alright, and we have the usual panel as well.
My name is Jamie and I played a fan game here.
Yeah, my name is Jono and I haven't played any of the fan games for the sake of me having a Mac.
Oh, I'm so sorry for you. Alrighty, so we picked a selection of some of our favorite fan games from the bunch. I think we'll start off with Sonic World, which, Jay, you couldn't get to play, if I recall.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's a Windows 8 thing. Right, I start the game up, everything's fine, loads the menu, has pretty music, reused from somewhere else. And then you select your character and level and whoop-de-doo, and then the game starts and the character moves, but nothing in the world is interactive. It's like a dead level. Like, you walk into a spring, nothing happens. You walk through rings. I was very sad.
Did you download the Purgatory Edition by accident?
Yes, I think I did, yeah.
Alright, so I had this is the game I've had the most experience playing, if only because I tried to record footage for it like 7 times, and each time it kept failing because my laptop's crap. But, I think it's really a really good engine. I have one big complaint about it, though, and that it is a 8-way run, where there is no... Like, because I play with a gamepad, right? I play with my DualShock 3 controller.
I was going to say, so it's almost like, they didn't program any sort of analog stick kind of control, so it's literally as if you're just controlling with a D-pad.
Yeah, no, like, if you play it with the keyboard, it's not too bad. The only problem is, for instance, if you're running straight down a path, and you came out of a turn, you might be drifting to the left, right? So then you try to correct it by pressing right. Well, now you're drifting to the right, and so you press left again, and you're drifting to the left, and you can't easily center yourself. That's my one complaint about it. Well, the other complaint I might have is that some of the animations are a little iffy at times, but they said they're not final, so I won't,
It does have a huge character roster, doesn't it?
Yes, it has a massive character roster. It has...
Like, who was demanding Cream the Rabbit?
To be fair, though, this does what basically everyone wants from a Sonic game, which is a whole bunch of characters, but they all play differently. Like, Sonic...
Similarly but differently.
Yeah, like, they all have spin dashes, which is nice, so if you need to get moving. And they all can jump, and have some sort of means of jumping again in some direction. So, like, Sonic has his homing attack, he has the Lightspeed Dash, and his special move is he can drift. So bringing in the Sonic Unleashed stuff. And I never played as him, because when you have all these other characters with special moves, why would you play as Sonic? That's sort of how I felt going into it. I guess I'll just run through every character because I played as them all. Tails is garbage. Tails is absolute.
Why?
Because his flying ability is similar to that in Sonic Adventure, except for the fact that his speed is fixed. There is no... you can't get any faster with it, and it's really slow. Like, it is painfully slow. You can easily... Like, your starting run speed from when you just first tap the up button is faster than your flying.
So he's like inverse Sonic 06 Tails, the wrong way around.
Yes, and also Tails has his moves from both 06 and Adventure. That is the ring bombs and the
Oh god, why?
But he also has the endless tail spin from Adventure.
Like Rhythm Badge.
Yeah, the Rhythm Badge.
The Rhythm Badge.
Knuckles plays pretty much like his 06 counterpart, except for the fact that he has Sonic's kick from Lost World, which is pretty cool, where you can just go down and kick an enemy. And he doesn't get stuck on walls. So that's really nice.
One thing I noticed with Knuckles stage is that, well, I don't know if this is true or not, but it looks like you can just skip most of the stage by, just climbing on the terrain and just
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, but he's not the worst offender for that. The worst offender for that is Charmy. He can fly forever, whenever, wherever. So he's completely broken. But and then other than that, you got the rest of the characters. You got Chaotix. You got Shadow, who plays exactly like Sonic, but instead of Drift, he has Chaos Spear. Cream can use Cheese to attack. Silver is useless because his dash doesn't go very far and his levitate doesn't work well. Neither does his throwing of enemies. Omega's really slow, but other than that, he plays pretty well. And Metal Sonic
Omega's in it.
Yeah, it's everyone
the kitchen
basically.
sink of characters.
Yeah, it's everyone who was featured in, because they're just model rips from Sonic Generations. The only one that isn't in there is, I'm pretty sure, Big the Cat.
Big.
It says that. I mean, I'm looking at the page now, and it says that Big and Froggy are supposed to be in there as a playable character.
Well,
So if they don't work, then it's it's a fault of the developer by the looks of things.
well, they might be unlockable, because I remember Eggman is also playable, but I didn't have him in my like roster of characters.
Right. Okay.
So I think they're unlockable, which would make sense because they're both pretty out there characters to be running around at the
Yeah.
speed of sound with. But otherwise, other than the characters themselves, it's pretty good. Like I said,
Didn't really sell it as pretty good. It's got to be said.
well, no, like I know I kind of accentuated the negative, but no, it is pretty good. The level design wasn't the best. And rails don't really work that well.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
They don't grind on them; they sort of spin on them, which would be fine. But it's like you can fall off, but you don't know if you're gonna fall off or not. It's just a little.
Oh, it's a bit.
It's awkward. I hope they
Yeah.
get around to fixing that. And yeah, so there's 3 levels in the demo. 2 if you want to be. I mean, because one of them is a test level, and it's just a white plane that lets you try out some of the stuff. Then you got Seaside Hill, and Final Rush, was it? Or is it Final Chase? And, like I said, the level design it's good, but you can tell it's tailored for certain characters. Like, you can't really do the start of Final Rush as, like, Blaze, for instance, because she doesn't have the homing attack, and it starts off with a chain of enemies. It's just hard to do.
Yeah.
Not very well thought through then.
I found the whole balloons in outer space thing rather interesting.
Yeah, again, those are just placeholder levels, because this is an engine demonstration. Yeah. It's not the game demonstration. It is meant to show off the engine. And I think, yeah, there is potential with the engine. The only things that need to be fixed are, again, the 8-way run, which is really annoying on pad, especially when playing with a stick. And also there's no victory animations when you finish a stage. They just stand there, and it looks kind of awkward. So yes, that was Sonic World. Next up is Sonic Lost Adventure. Now, hopefully, Jay, you'll have something to say about this one.
Yes. Has anyone else played this?
I have. I recently did.
I can't say I have.
So, it's one of these numerous things coming out of the whole Unreal Engine.
So it's a GTK one, yeah?
Yes. So, it's actually probably one of the most interesting things I've seen. It's probably the best level design I've seen. It's based on a sort of spin of Metal Harbor. You're running around, lots of crates, and
I do love the level aesthetic. Like, just the idea of the level. I think it's something that really hasn't been done in this way, at least, with the boxes and stuff. And I had a laugh when I saw, like, running through loops of these transport boxes. You know, yeah. It's delightfully absurd is the phrase I'd use with it.
It's probably got one of the best lighting setups I've seen. It's all very vibrant. It's very harsh in colour, but I quite like that, actually. Rather than all these browns and stuff, I quite enjoy it. This whole Sonic GTK thing, it probably controls one of the better 3D setups we've probably seen out of fan games. It's not perfect by any means. It requires a lot of manual camera control to not run into things.
Right.
So for instance, if you're running down a very long path with a long corner to it, it's down to you to turn the camera to face the way the path's now going.
And is it sort of mouse and keyboard? So mouse for
yes.
camera?
So basically you're using the mouse for the camera and the left button to jump.
Okay.
And then you're using, I believe it's just the arrow keys. Yeah, just the arrow keys. So basically all your controls are pretty much in the mouse. And
Yeah.
then you're just directing the character himself. Basically just pressing forward.
Right,
and
right.
he's doing the rest. Pretty good level design. I think this is easily the best level design I've seen out of this engine to date. I can't think of anything else that compares really. Goes from 3D to 2D as well. I think he's used everything out of the assets that the engine has provided.
How does it compare to Endless, for example?
Well, we might as well talk about Project Endless as well in the same breath because they are basically the same thing. Same engine anyway.
Yeah, same engine but different level design.
Yeah, different projects. I like Lost Adventure because it's actually more traditional in its the level design. It's got a point A to a point B.
Right, okay.
And stuff to do, you know, jump here and go through this loop and stuff. Whereas Project Endless is just very boring.
That was my one thing. It was like, so I go in there and I'm like, okay, let's run wherever I want. But then it's like, well, wherever I want is just kind of green hill texture.
Yeah.
Like, not even green hill, but just green on hills.
Yeah. So it's literally just a big brown map, and there's no point to anything. It's very pretty. It's not as
Yeah, but
aesthetically pleasing.
lighting on it and stuff is really quite nice. If you go underwater, you know, you get like the shafts of light coming through water, which is all looking really good.
But there's no objectives, and I wouldn't mind that. There was a demo when on the last stage, and I can't remember what it's called now, and it's really bugging me, but it had a similar concept. It was like open-ended, go wherever you want. But in that one, it felt like there were specific landmarks that you could aim to get to. Like,
Right.
oh, I can see that in the distance, I want to get there and see what's over there, and I can see this over here, and there were hidden things in places, like you could go under this and find under the water, and there was one little secret location where you could find emeralds, and you activate them, and you could become supersonic, and there's none of that in Project Endless. It's just a big empty map with nowhere to go. Like I said, you stand in the middle of it, and you've got no desire to go anywhere, because it all looks the same.
I was surprised. I mean, like, the only thing I've really seen of it is some gameplay footage a friend recorded and the stuff that you put on the channel as well. And I really liked the fact that they'd hidden stuff underwater. I don't know how much there is underwater, but there was definitely sort of, I could see, you know, some rings down there and some extra boost rings and stuff. But I just thought that was a nice use of space instead of just the water being death, I guess.
It's very much concept. There's not much else to it right now.
Yeah.
One thing I actually noticed was there was this one moment in that demo which looks like, you know, you're running down a tube of water or something like that.
It looks like a special stage from.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a completely different level.
That's
Oh, really?
There's
Oh, okay.
two levels in the game.
Right, okay.
And there's this other level which is just an endless, I guess. I don't know. I always drown. I can't get very far. It's just a tunnel with lots of spikes. It looks like it's being inspired by a special stage.
Yeah.
It's labeled
say
in the game data as a mock stage, though. So that's kind of interesting.
So yeah, basically, Project Endless, it's an interesting concept, but it's a concept that's already sort of been explored, and I think to better effect.
Okay.
So yeah. But one good thing about all these engines is killing yourself and then Sonic turning into a ragdoll.
Even when you're underwater, so he doesn't float to the surface.
No, he
That's all.
just becomes a dead weight.
Yeah. Suddenly becomes more dense.
If we can go back to Sonic Lost Adventure for a second, because I did get
Yeah,
to play that a bit. I don't know if I did this right or not, but for some reason, in my 3 times playing it, the transition from 3D to 2D did not go over very well, to the point where the up button on the keyboard in the 2D section, pressing up would make me go forwards, but pressing down would make me crouch,
Oh, okay.
essentially making it so I couldn't turn around.
Best way to do it was when it was about to transition was not press anything. Because otherwise it would seem to reassign the buttons in really weird ways. In some situations, when I was crossing back from 2D to 3D, if I was holding down buttons, the game would just crash.
That is a GDK thing, as opposed to the Lost Adventure. if I'm getting this correctly, that's like a level in what's going to be a full game. If they put out cool level designs such as the one seen, because that was what got me, was the awesome level concept.
Right.
True that bit.
Okay, next up we have Edge of Darkness.
I played this one.
I played a
As have
little
I.
bit of it, just a little bit. This was one of the ones I just sort of touched.
I really enjoyed this one, actually. I thought it was a little bit tighter than Time Twisted. I haven't actually got a chance to play the update of Time Twisted that went out. But, I really liked Edge of Darkness. It's really nice graphically. It's all custom graphics in the sort of 16-bit style, so it looks very pretty. I kind of like the fact that the characters look like they have like a little black outline. I don't know what that is, but yeah, it looks like they have like a single pixel line outline, and it makes them stand out quite nice. Just things like the sort of ghosty trail that leaves behind you as you sort of jump. I think that looks really. It's a nice effect, and it really came across quite nice.
See, well, you said like the white outline is nice to differentiate from the background. I had the complete different opinion. I think it sort of made them stand out, but in a way it almost looked like they had a different art style. And to me it sort of felt like it was, they just felt kind of out of place. It wasn't, mind you, it wasn't something game-breaking, but personally I would have liked to see them match the... And even it sort of felt like to me, they, even beyond the outline, had a different art style. Because they had a very 3D-esque look to them with the way that the sprites were
soft
shaded.
shading. Yeah.
And it sort of felt like the backgrounds and the levels themselves didn't as... If they did, it definitely wasn't as noticeable. And so, again, it just sort of felt like different design choices entirely. And so to me, it sort of kind of... It didn't gel for me.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. The thing that I it's very sparse to have games that have custom graphics, and
that's true. Yes,
I do honestly favour it over the standard, using existing tile sets and maybe just chopping the colours around or piecing them together with other stages. So I had a lot of respect for them for actually at least drawing their own pixel art and making the stages look original. I can see exactly where you're coming from. It wasn't such a big issue for me personally, but I can see what you mean. The sprites definitely look more softer shaded. They remind me of the chaotic sprites actually quite a lot. But yeah, no, it was a nice little demo, and both stages were something different, their own gimmicks. Just a nice little game. Certainly one of the better 2D offerings.
Now, one thing I noticed, and one frequently commented comment, was that the pace of it seemed quite slow. Would you agree or disagree?
It felt like a traditional Sonic game, I suppose. There's no sort of boost mechanics, or I think the only thing that you can really use to gain speed is a spin dash, which is fine as far as I'm concerned. I thought it was quite nice. I'm of the opinion that 16-bit Sonic games aren't particularly fast anyway. I think it's a common misconception because at the time you're so familiar with traditional platformers like Mario that any form of high speed would stand out anyway. But I think generally 16-bit Sonic games are accurate little platforming games, and then you're rewarded with a speed section if you can do the platforming good. And Edge of Darkness feels very similar actually. It's a case of you have a little bit of platforming, then there's a loop and a downhill section. You speed up a little bit, and then there's some more platforming. It's just it felt very traditional, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
See, what I think it is so when a game is presented to you, which is basically purely classic, even going down to the character designs, it does sort of... the thing that it's slow does stand out, because compared to some of these games, I mean, you go to any of the GDK games and play as modern Sonic, as they put it, and it's just so fast you can't even keep up. And so yeah, by comparison, it is a slower game. But that's not a bad thing. Slow games...
No, I wouldn't.
No, because it's more platforming based.
Yeah.
That said, I did have one slight problem with the game. Otherwise, I thought it was fantastic. But the one slight thing for me was Sonic got a wall jump, and that felt kind of finicky to me. Like, you don't automatically latch onto the wall, as you would say, like in Mario Sunshine. As soon as you hit the wall, you can press A and jump immediately off and do this wall jump. But with this, you sort of have to hug the wall for like half a second, and then he goes into the animation that he's in wall jump mode, and it just sort of felt like you can't just mash jump, which is really fun to do with wall jumps. You do have to wait till he attaches, and also hold to the side to make sure that he does attach. So that's just a minor thing. Again, that's a lot of my gripes are really minor, and it may seem like I'm complaining a lot, but it's just like these are really, really good games, but there are small things that could be fixed with them.
Ooh.
All right. Next up, we have Sonic Game Land, which is a very misleading title.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of assumed it was a minigame collection.
I thought it was going to be levels, like, basically of the same style as the Sonic's Game Land in Sonic Colors, where, pretty basic level, like, things. It's just, it's like a simulation, but, there'll be a large variety of levels.
Of course, yeah, where you use the puppet Sonics, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be. I think this one was good. But there are, I don't know, maybe just it was a little too fast for me, it felt. It was very combat-based, where Sonic actually had a dedicated attack button, which actually had some pretty cool thing where you could triple jump with Sonic almost. Where you can jump, then use his kick attack, and then out of the kick attack, homing attack. So Sonic had basically 3 jumps, and I thought that worked really well. And especially because you're not pressing the same button 3 times. You're pressing jump, then the attack button, then the jump again. And I thought that worked really well. It was like I'm sounds like I'm complaining, but no, like it was really good. One complaint that I do have is that you can't tell if something is foreground, background, or something you can interact with. I tried jumping on a few things that are in the foreground, and I try grinding on rails that are apparently in the background, and it's like, oh, okay.
I definitely had that issue with the rails, yeah.
What I found quite weird about this game was just the standard running speed's really fast, and the way the level design encourages you to do that, but I almost at the same time feel punished for when I was going fast, because the way the level design would, you'd be going really fast and you end up running into an enemy, or off the edge of something.
I had that exact issue.
I was
jumping over things, and
you need to jump up into this hoop, or you'll just fall off the edge of the ledge.
Yeah,
and the speed of the design doesn't give you enough time to be prepared for that. It gives you no indication that's coming up. So I spent most of my time falling off things and not being ready for things. There's so much trial and error. And then sometimes, like you said, can you jump on this? Can you not jump on this? At one moment, this car is just background. The next time I see this car, it will kill me. It's like very inconsistent.
No, yeah, I agree completely. That was my main gripe with it, to be honest with you. I didn't experience that as much in the time attack stages. I thought the story stage itself was, it was set up obviously for some precision sort of platforming and grinding, especially. There's lots of sections in the grind rails where you have to jump across the section to then hit another, and then it sort of sends you off somewhere else. And that was quite difficult with the way the mechanics work. What with it being so fast, you ended up jumping over the rail completely, or just falling down a pit somewhere.
This is a very odd choice to do precision gameplay, but with high speed.
No, completely. But the time attack stages that are there as additional things, I actually enjoyed a lot more. They didn't suffer from that nearly as much. And I think the other thing is as well, the flow of the story stage was kind of broken a lot by the fact that it was telling you how to play the game, which I thought was a little bit redundant for a community that plays Sonic games. You don't really need to teach me how to play Sonic game again.
There was a lot of me smashing buttons like please skip text. I don't want to.
There's no way to advance the text, and I was like, oh, that's a bad move.
Don't tell me how to move. I can work this out.
Yeah. No, but otherwise, I mean, it was definitely not a bad game. But it was a good game. I'd say it was above average, and again, I liked it was using advanced style graphics, and it actually made them look quite original. Whereas usually with advanced fan games, they just kind of piece the bits and pieces together from existing ones, because I think they're a lot more difficult to edit. This generally looked a little bit more original than your average advanced fan game, I think.
And the only other thing, really random niggle, and it doesn't really matter, but it bothers me, because again, I don't like inconsistencies. Don't make a whole menu navigation through our menu inputs and then make characters select on time attack require a mouse.
Oh yeah, that was a bit bizarre.
It was like, why do this to me? Because forever I was just pressing the arrow keys like this is broken, it doesn't work.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing I did was set it up for joypad controls, and then I was like, well, why isn't it moving around a menu? But it was like, oh, it's because I've got to use the mouse. So what was the point of setting up the joypad?
Just that one menu in the whole game.
Yeah. That's the one thing you had to do right.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. I like the different characters. It's interesting, I liked it. I think it was a good effort, and clearly a lot of effort put into it.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd like to see more. I'd like to see a few more levels and stuff. I think there's a lot of potential here.
Completely.
All right, and the final game we're going to discuss today, the one that came out of nowhere, and I don't think a lot of people even batted their eyes at, but I personally took a loving to, we have The Rock. Oh my gosh, I expected
with this.
Huh?
What on earth happened to this? Or what on earth... How did this come about?
Well, I expected this to just be sort of like a parody Sonic fan game, or like maybe just like a hack of Sonic 1 where you're a rock, or like the enemies are also rocks, and I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect an actually incredibly fun Sonic engine. But wow! Like, the level design worked with this basically Sonic Rush on steroids sort of design, and like you're just flying around as this rock, and you're just destroying enemies, and I'm playing this and I'm like, this is genuinely the most enjoyable thing I've played out of Sage. And it's like, you're just fast, and you're a rock. And it's like, but there is a second playable character who is a flower, who has a double jump and not the homing attack, which is kind of sad, but whatever. The Rock is the best character anyways. I had so much fun with this title, and I want more. I want a Rock trilogy that can be burned onto like a disc and distributed to my friends, and I enjoyed this game way too much.
I did play it. Possibly not as enthusiastic as Tanner. It was a really good game featuring a rock.
Well, I brought this up prior to we started recording, but it's made by the same person who did Sonic Black Ace, which I also thought was very, very good. And I'm assuming that it probably uses the same engine. Because Sonic Black Ace is also very, very quick. Lots and lots of crazy stage designs, and using the gimmicks as the best as it possibly could.
Now that you mention it, I am fairly certain it's the same engine.
Okay, yeah. Because that Sonic Black Ace is an absolutely brilliant game, and another one I think that was quite overlooked. And yeah, I think I obviously need to go and check out The Rock now because I haven't got around to it yet. But
Game of 2014.
But I think we're getting slightly off topic. We will wrap things up.
I just wanted to discuss one final point before we go.
All right.
And it's a genuine interest. I'm interested in your opinions and such. I've been following Sage for many, many years. Like, since I was a tiny, tiny child, before Tanner was even born.
Wow, that is long ago.
Yeah. It's like 4 years ago. And Sage used to be a huge deal. It was the E3 of Sonic fan games, and Sonic fan games were a big deal. Never got finished. Just this eternal selection of demos and stuff. But everyone was out to build Sonic 4. In fact, someone did call their game Sonic 4.
I think many people called their game
Sonic 4. But listen, times have changed. Sega have made Sonic 4 now. The community has changed a lot. And I'm just curious, and Sage now is only happening every 2 years. Is fan gaming on a decline?
I don't know. I wasn't around for the heydays, if you will, of when it was a big thing. But one big worry nowadays is with how social media is and with how corporations are, there's always a sort of fear of cease and desists. And so, for instance, instead of doing something at Sage, they might say, well, I could do something with Steam's indie library and make something for that.
That's a fair point. I mean, for me personally, I think there is a place for it. I've watched it grow since, when did I first see the first one? Probably 2000. And the comparison is just ridiculous now. It's come such a long way. I mean, we have things like GDK now, which is a proprietary 3D engine for Sonic fan games, which is just something that hasn't existed. Hopefully, eventually someone will design a game that has some pretty decent level design as well. I mean, Lost Adventure's been a highlight, obviously, for some of you guys.
And we didn't discuss it, but Chrono Adventure. I've been playing that
Chrono
on
Adventure.
the Let's Plays.
Oh yeah, this is the other thing as well. Whereas fan games never used to really get completed because obviously it's an awful lot of free time you have to put into these things. There are some real dedicated developers like Lake Fepard who made Sonic Chrono Adventure who are actually completing fan games now and making full games essentially. He's made 4 on his own. I mean, there's some other great ones. Hez's Sonic Classic. That's an absolutely brilliant game. I'm trying to think of other fan games recently that came out. Generally, what I'm trying to say is the scene has progressed, and I think it still has a place. There's some really interesting stuff still coming out, and people are actually finishing games because they they have engines that are available to them instead of having to build their own from scratch. We have Sonic Worlds for 2D. We have GDK for 3D. It's a lot different to what it used to be, and I personally I'm still excited to see what comes out of it every year because it's progressed so quickly in such a short space of time. I mean, for instance, if you take things like Sonic Fan Remix, which was such a huge step forward, and I think kind of influential on actual Sonic games, to be honest with you, it felt like the design of that game, art-wise, definitely influenced Sylvania Castle in Sonic 4 Part 2. And I think that's great that Sega are clearly... I mean, they don't obviously mention it, but they do leave the Sonic fan game community alone to their own devices and don't really step in, which is perfect for anybody that wants to be involved in Sonic fan gaming, because you don't fear cease and desist. But at the same time, I think Sega definitely keep an eye on it because I can see influences in Sonic 4, for instance. So, yeah. And I mean, the other thing is as well, it gave Taxman a job. So,
That's true.
Very true.
I think if there's anything positive came out of it, that's got to be it. But those are my 2 cents. Sorry, I got a bit passionate there.
Any thoughts, John?
Any thoughts from me? There was a game called Sonic Core, which I look at it. There's a really tiny video on the web page, and well, you just kind of need to see it. And it just makes me wonder. I'm sure the guy who sort of worked on it probably put a lot of work into it and such, but is this really the kind of material which is being shown at Sage now?
Well, I don't think they're particularly. They're not, prejudiced towards anybody. Everything is fair game at Sage. If you want to hold a booth, that's up to you.
Okay.
So it's very much a case of if you want to portray a low quality game, then you have to be prepared to go up against everybody else who's sort of showcasing higher quality games.
Yeah, of course. I'm a little bit.
It's always been the case.
Yeah, I've always been a little bit worried to, sort of actually explicitly say, like, this game is bad, this game is awful, etc.
Well, this is the exact same question. It's difficult because obviously, what with it being a free-for-all, people are allowed to promote however the way they want to. If they're going to release something of that quality, then they have to be prepared to realise that they're going to be up against other things that are of a different quality. It's as simple as that, really. And if you don't criticise something, it's not going to get good. So this is why I generally chime in with my reviews on SegaDriven.com. I try not to be unfair. I try not to be offensive. I try not to, attack people personally, because it's not what the point of that is. If I feel that something hasn't been developed to a high standard, then I'm going to have to tell you and make it clear as to why that is. So I did that specifically today with the roundup I did earlier this evening, because I reviewed a game called Bingo the Multiver, which is there. I don't know if anybody played that one.
Downloaded it, didn't play.
Yeah, it's more of the idea, I think it's very similar in concept to Freedom Planet, in that it's influenced by Sonic, but is actually given a sort of independent game look of its own. So it's got an original character and it's not using Sonic characters, but it obviously plays like a Sonic game. And yeah, it's not particularly built very well. The collision detection is very strange. The way you interact with the environment's a bit odd. You stick into walls and surfaces. It clearly hasn't been tested to a great degree. And I've said that, and hopefully if the developer can take criticism, they'll take it on board and make a better game instead of just chucking up any old rubbish, because it doesn't impress anybody really. But that's just me talking as a critic now. Sorry.
Well, I think on that note, so since you're the guest, Lewis, would you like to close us out?
If you would like to read up on some of the games that were available at this year's Sage, you can go to SegaDriven.com and read the 4 roundups that I have done, which highlight 8 of the games that are available. SegaDriven.com. It's good.
See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
And that was the Sonic Show's Opinion Zone. Copyright Disco Ponies Productions. Sonic the Hedgehog is copyright Sega Corporation. All rights reserved. Thanks for listening.